Hi, I'm Zachary Pratt. As we travel along, I'll be explaining some of the photos I took along Coxie Truck Trail. With Kim by my side and our good friends Mike and Teresa Feller having their RV and toy hauler park, we set off to explore Juniper Flats in the National Forest. Juniper Flats is managed by the Barstow Field Office, which is in the Bureau of Land Management. Juniper Flats has well-marked routes, as did the Forest Service. Driving through Juniper Flats, we were in awe of all the beautiful, huge rock formations, with 3 or 4 boulders as big as a house next to the road. When driving by, you could reach out of the window and touch them as you pass. A wide variety of desert vegetation weaved itself around the boulders as much their nature as Mother Nature showed off her landscaping abilities. Leaving Juniper Flats, we passed by Horse Spring Campground, one of several Forest Service campgrounds along the route. Continuing, the landscape and vegetation changed, providing us with new and spectacular views of scenic beauty around every twist in the road. Traveling further into the forest, we found ourselves on the edge of ravines, looking down into the tops of 60-foot tall trees. In other places, we couldn't see the mountaintops looming overhead. On high spots along the road, we had wonderful vistas that stretched for miles over mountains and valleys. Traveling along, we saw ravens, hawks, and a chipmunk or two. Close to Hannah Flats Campground, we came upon a small herd of muleys. At first, we could barely make out the deer because the vegetation was 3 to 4 feet high, providing great cover for them. A little while later, all of the 5 does came into sight, looked right at us, and kept on walking and eating. We felt that with so many does, a buck had to be somewhere close by. Well, sure enough, in a little bit, a spikhorn buck appeared, stopped to check out, and then followed the does. Even though the deer knew we were there, none of them seemed afraid of us as we watched them slowly disappear into the understory. On the next day's ride, Mike and I were traveling along a steep ravine, admiring the beautiful yellow poplar leaves shining brightly in contrast with the green of the pine trees far below us. The road gradually descended into a dry riverbed. We crossed, and driving up out of the riverbed, there were a dozen or more large pines on the edge of the road. Stopping to admire the trees, Mike could not resist the chance to climb up the closest pine tree, and he was able to climb back down without falling. Mike safely out of the tree, it was time to move on. And as the saying goes, just like the bear that went over the mountain, it was to see what we could see. Taking a different road that branched off the Coxie Truck Trail, we gradually gained enough elevation to see Big Bear Lake in the distance. We watched motor and sailboats cruise around on Big Bear, having fun watching the boats from afar, and since it was a beautiful day, we had a picnic and watched all that was taking place on the lake. Finished with lunch, we moseyed further up the hill and had a laugh when we found a little juniper tree all decorated with Christmas ornaments. For 6 wonderful days, Mike and I drove around in the forest exploring a new road or 2-track every day. It was a blast taking a new route that we had not driven on before. Riding in my 4x4 pickup, we were able to go almost everywhere the trail went, except for one time we had to turn around and backtrack. Parts of the routes were very rough, so I'd not recommend driving many of the trails off cox seat in a car. The Forest Service does an excellent job identifying the routes and types of vehicles best suited to travel on them. Every day out in the forest was fun. The weather and scenery were beautiful, and besides that we saw deer each of the 6 days we were driving around in the forest. The next day, while driving along in another location, 3 muleys decided to cross the route in front of us. We stopped to watch them, and so did a hawk that was sitting in the top of a nearby tree. The deer did not seem to be in a hurry to get out of our way, and why would they? After all, we were driving through their living room. We appreciated them walking slowly across the road in front of us. Which brings to question, why did the deer cross the road? I have no idea. Do you? High atop one of the many mountains we drove over, Mike got out of the truck to get a better view of the ridge across from us, with the Lucerne Valley visible in the background miles and miles away. One of the many things I love about California is the scenic landscape views, with all sorts of different desert colors, contrasts, and textures. With all the smoke from nearby wildfires in the air, I was not able to get clear photos of Lake Arrowhead in the distance. Heading out on our last day driving around in the forest, a coyote was nice enough to run through the woods next to us, pausing long enough for me to take a photo. Then down the road, a little doe hopped out and stood there for a minute, just long enough for me to take her photo. Out of the forest back in Fonskin was on to Bashto and down the switchback to the Lucerne Valley floor. As the sun was setting, lighting the mountains with a pink and purple hue, finally setting behind the mountains, providing a beautiful mountain silhouette. I thank you for watching this video, and come back to watch more videos that are in the works. Goodbye.